I mean, I can introduce it if, talk a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Just welcome everyone and then go ahead and start.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So we're trying something different. We're going to do a kirtan and see how that goes. For any of you who are not familiar with what a kirtan is, it's a call and response. So Gerald is going to be putting the words into the message, which you can access. Oh, well, I guess he's doing that. Can
you see him now?
I can see them. I'm guessing everybody else can see them. So it's a call and response. So the idea is it's a meditation of sorts. It's not about the singing. It's about entering a zone and letting the voice and the breath take you into the zone, or whatever you want to call it. So we'll start off slow, and then it will build up as the energy builds, and then we'll begin to slow back down and then taper off into the silence and enjoy the bliss of the silence. Again, I'm going to be leading the satsang, so I'm going to be singing the line, then you're going to be following the line. I'm going to be singing the line, and then you're going to be following the line. We're going to be going back and forth like that. I'm going to go over and there may be slight variations in however I'm inspired and feel the spirit moving through me to variate, but it'll be pretty similar throughout. And these are kirtans that Swamiji's teacher have given us, Swami Ravi.
Excuse me, David, this is Arabella. I've done a lot of chanting with my classes, and I find people have to mute. Otherwise, all the voices trying to use the microphone at the same time creates havoc. It's
great, thank you.
It's your call, but just to let you know.
That sounds great. That sounds like a great idea. Yeah, this is totally new to me. I've never led a kirtan through Zoom. So thanks for the tip. The other thing I was going to say is that, like I said, it's a meditation of sorts. And so sometimes when we sing, we change our breath in weird ways, and we tighten up our throat or tighten up our face because we think that it's something different than speaking or than meditating. And so I encourage you to play with just right now, focusing on your breath for a moment as though you're preparing for meditation, and let your breath kind of relax your throat and your head and your face, your chest, your abdomen, and that will help you to enter that space, so that kirtan space. So we're going to start with the first one, and so I'm going to speak it, and then you can repeat after me, just spoken, in case this is a new one for you. So the first one, it's Hare Krishna Govinda Mohan Murare. And go ahead and repeat that, and I'll repeat it with you. Hare Krishna Govinda Mohan Murare. Japaka Japaka Hare Manbikare. Japaka Japaka Hare Manbikari. And I guess on that note, I'll take a sip of tea. And we'll see what happens.
Should we all be muted then? Is that, Arabella, is that what you're suggesting?
I was muted. We could run the experiment and see how it works. And if it creates havoc, we should mute.
I have the request of everyone muting, but one person who has a good voice that we can follow along with for the response. Because if everyone's muted and there's a call and I'm like, with the response? Thank you.
That'd be good. That'd be good. I also tend to sing the response as well, at least at first when we're kind of getting familiar with it. And if I had someone join me, that would be awesome. So, okay. Hare Krishna Govinda Mohan Murare. Hare Krishna Govinda Mohan Murare. Hare Krishna Govinda Mohan Murare. Hare Krishna
Govinda Mohan
Hare Hare Krishna Govinda Mohan Murare. Hare Krishna Govinda Mohan Murare. Japaka Japaka Hare Mandikari. Japaka Japaka Hare Mandikari. Hare Krishna Govinda Mohan Murare. 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 Japaka Japaka Hare Mandikari. Japaka Japaka Hare Mandikari. Hare Krishna Govinda Mohan Murare. 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 Japaka Japaka Hare Mandikari. Japaka Japaka Hare Mandikari. Japaka Japaka Hare Mandikari. Japaka Japaka Hare Mandikari. Hare Krishna Govinda Hare Hare Mohan Murare. Hare Krishna Govinda Mohan Murare. Hare Krishna Murare. Hare Krishna Govinda Mohan Murare. Hare Krishna Murare. Hare Okay. Okay. So I'm getting the tambourine is a little much. Okay. This is a very interesting experience. I'm glad I have Mark here behind me singing a little bit, so I at least hear somebody. Okay. Shall I go ahead and go to the next one, or is any input from Carol or Linda?
Sounds great. We had a little technical difficulty, but we're back.
Okay.
So,
Hi, excuse me.
yeah.
My name is Marion, and I wrote in the chat that the tambourine was really painful to hear.
Yes, thank you.
I've tried to play my gong over Zoom, and it's just horrible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I have to mute you, unfortunately. It would.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got a few notes I see from people telling me the tambourine was too much. Okay, so I might just like tap the tambourine or something like that. And then
So David,
uh-huh.
the other piece is we're loving all the movement.
Oh God, okay.
But when you're moving away from the speaker, so your voice goes in and out.
Okay.
So
okay, so I'll try to be more. I'll try to be less jovial. Okay.
No. I just.
I'm just teasing. Okay. I'll try to be more focused. Okay.
Okay, great. But it's. I hope people are feeling the energy and capturing the sound and just looking beyond the technical and just diving into the connection and just feeling, just taking in all the faces and the music. So we appreciate the singing so much. So proceed.
So, Gerald,
Okay.
could you put the lyrics in the chat then? I can't seem to get to the everyone
yes, I'll
chat.
do that. I'll do that right now. Which one did you just do, David?
The first one.
Okay.
I think that might be better than than sharing my screen.
Okay. You
So
might
then
hear
we
some
can
tapping.
see.
No, I'll mute myself. So go for it, David.
Okay, we're going to do the third one, which is Radhe, 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 Sham Se Milade. If you want to go ahead and say that with me. Radhe, 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 Sham Se Milade. Sham Se Milade, Krishna Se Milade. Sham Se Milade, Krishna Se Milade. Oh, I have a note. Okay, I need to move closer to the speaker. Is that what? Okay, I can do. Okay. Radhe, 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 Sham Se Milade. 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 Sham Se Milade, Krishna Se Milade. Sham Se Milade, Krishna Se Milade. Radhe, 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 Sham 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 Se Milade. Sham Se Milade, Krishna Se Milade. Sham Se Milade, Krishna Se Milade. Sham se milare, Krishna se milare, Sham se milare, Krishna se milare, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Sham 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 se milare, Sham se milare, Krishna 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 se milare, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Sham 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 se milare, Sham se milare, Krishna 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 se milare, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Sham 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 se milare.
Yay.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that was great.
Beautiful. Hooray.
And
How about another? Is everybody?
I was
You what?
lightly tapping the tambourine, but that was I'm curious if you could hear it at all, or
A little bit, but it wasn't distracting. Yeah.
right.
So why don't we go for another one?
Okay.
And do we want to do an experiment?
Sure.
So perhaps we try unmuting, everybody unmuting, and singing along, and we'll see.
See what happens.
We'll see how it works, and if it's ridiculously crazy, then we'll remute. But I think that let's try just hearing what that is like, to hear all of our voices. It may be delayed or something like that, but are you up for that,
Okay.
David?
Sure. And I mean, so we can let Linda be the determiner, because I think Linda can mute everybody if need be, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll.
And
So I can unmute everybody. Shall I unmute everybody?
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Great. Great. Yay! You're free.
So let's
So, Dave-
do the second one.
Okay, give me just a few seconds here to type in. You want to go ahead and say the words?
Yes. So we're going to do number 2. Starts with Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bo. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bo.
We don't have the words yet.
Okay.
Oh, there they are.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's do it again. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bo. Sri Hari, Sri Hari, Hari Hari Bo. Sri Hari, Hari Hari Bo. Ram Ram Bol. Krishna Krishna Bol. Ram Ram Bol. Krishna 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 Bol. Okay. Let's see what happens.
David,
Yes.
give a quick, just give a quick description of the process, in case there's folks that have never been to a kirtan. That you sing one line and then we sing it after.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I did say something about that, but maybe there's people who's come on since then. Kirtan is a call and response sacred chant. So I'll say the line, then you all repeat the line back. And it's pretty repetitive, and I'll randomly be picking one of these 3 lines and then just respond back as best you can. It's not about singing, quote unquote. It's more about using the breath and the voice to get into the zone, I like to say. How is that, Gerald? Anything you want to add to that?
No, that's great. Rudy just mentioned it's rejoicing.
Yes. Yes. Letting yourself fill with the joy and the spirits. Yes. So
Linda, if it gets kind of crazy, you just go ahead and step in and mute everybody.
I'll let it be a little crazy for a little while before, we might take a minute to get the hang of it.
Yeah.
Cool.
We like crazy, but I just don't want people's ears going, Yeah.
Well, what about this? What if people just kind of, put their hands up if they're going crazy?
Okay.
If I see enough of those, then I'll mute people. 2/3. I'll wait for 2/3.
Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bo. Sri Hari, Sri Hari, Hari Hari Bo. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bo. Sri Hari, Sri Hari, Hari Bo. Kunda Madhava Govinda Bo. Sri Hari, Sri Hari, Hari Hari Bo. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bo. Sri Hari, Hari Hari Bo. Ram Ram Bol, Krishna Krishna Bol. Ram Ram Bol, Krishna Krishna Bol. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bo. Sri Hari, Sri Hari, Hari Hari Bo. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bo. Sri Hari, Sri Hari, Hari Bo. Madhava Govinda Bo. Sri Hari, Sri Hari, Hari Hari Bo. Sri Hari 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 Ram Ram Bol Krishna Krishna Bol Ram Ram Bol Krishna Krishna Bol Ram Bol Krishna Krishna Bol Ram 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 Ram Bol Krishna Krishna Bol Kunda Madhava Govinda Bol Sri Hari 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 Bol Kunda Madhava Govinda Bol Shri Hari 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 Bol Sri Hari 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 Bol Sri Hari Hari Bol Sri Hari Hari Bol Sri Hari Hari Bol Ram Bol Krishna Krishna 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 Bol Kunda Madhava Govinda Bol Sri Hari Hari Bol Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bol Sri Hari Hari Bol Sri Hari Hari Bol Sri Hari Hari Bol Hari Sri Hari Bol Sri Hari Hari Bol. Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
That was fun and different.
Wonderful experiment to try to do Kirtan on Zoom with everybody.
Right?
Slightly different times.
That's a first. So we'll move into a satsang format, and so you need to look at that. So our satsangs are typically a discussion. It's not a, it's, we usually go by questions. That's kind of what starts the conversation. Burning questions. And then we just have a discussion from there. The questions can be all over the board in the spiritual practice of Tantra, yoga, meditation, sexuality, all that. So if you can either raise your hand or you can also, Linda, do we want to do the raising hand in the chat space also?
Well, we can pretty much see almost everybody. I'll keep an eye on who's raising their hands. I'm muting everyone now. And they can unmute and just talk. I mean, that can work as well.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm not muting the phone people, so they can talk.
I have a burning desire.
Yes, go.
What does Tantra have to say about income inequality? And I'm feeling all the people that are in a spot right now. Like, where does Tantra intersect with that, or does it at all?
Well, if you're talking about traditional Tantra. The Tantrikas usually lived in roaming bands, and they didn't have income ever. So it wasn't an issue really. What they had was what, like any sadhu, they put out their bowl, and when people put something in it, they ate, and when they didn't eat. So we can be sort of delighted that we aren't quite in that role, even though many of us have a limitation now on our income. So, you know, this is one of the challenges of adopting or adapting Tantra for the West, for us who are living in a very different kind of situation from the way that people traditionally lived when they practiced these techniques and held these spiritual goals and intentions. So we have to use our imagination. I mean, actually, what comes to me when I think about that is that this pandemic time is a time when most of us have less, and well, we have less money, but more time. And so it's an opportunity really to explore living more simply and preparing your own food, but simple food. You know, not really complex gourmet entrees, but just simple things that are nourishing. And that was absolutely how the Tantrikas would eat. You know, is what the beans they would cook in a pot, and rice and roti, you know, chapati or paranta or something like that. And that was a meal. And sometimes they would have green things when it was the right season. They lived in the caves through the winter, they might not have that. But if they came down from the caves, they would maybe have more vegetables. But the practices are relied on more heavily for the vibrancy and energy than the food is, though food is important. But on the other hand, they didn't eat food that was laced with Roundup or other poisons. So they had, it was simply a matter of, you know, a small amount of very simple food that was still nurturing and sufficient. So, you know, we don't live in a cave, and we're not in India, and it's not 50 or 100 years ago. But we can certainly, especially if we're kind of confined by the pandemic rules about social distancing and so forth, we can take advantage of that to do a little retreat in our world, you know, of introspection and a time of really noticing what is it that we really need and what do we really want or are accustomed, have the habit of consuming or experiencing that we don't really need, and that can open a space for a lot more awareness and a lot more awareness of what we will find inside. And if we haven't been, you know, checking in on the inside very much because of our busy lives, we might find a lot there to deal with, and it might at first be a bit uncomfortable. The first time I did a 2-week silence 40 years ago, and my teacher had us do 2 weeks of silence. It was really difficult because all kinds of stuff came up that was negative and dark, and it was like, oh, find my way through this. The next year I did the 10 days, 2 weeks of silence. It was a little bit difficult. The third time I did it, it was just ecstasy, you know, just wonderful. It was peaceful and exhilarating. So, you know, it's not immediately a delightful experience necessarily, but it's certainly a very important practice in terms of your own spiritual path, to withdraw and be quiet and, you know, meditate, look at what's coming up inside, find your way through that, and then you're in a position to find your way beyond all that. And that's when it gets really interesting. So, yeah, I mean, there is certainly inequality in terms of what material resources people have right now on the planet, and that's been true, and that's really unnecessary. There's enough for everyone to have ample amount to live comfortably. When I was with my teacher in New Delhi, and he was a very highly regarded teacher, and his students, for many of them, were very wealthy, and some of them were not at all. But we were invited to dinner at this Jain family that was extremely wealthy, and really exquisite food. But sitting at the table, he started talking about, inequality, and what a blight that was upon the nation of India. And a lot of people's faces were red, and they were looking down at their plates. But he didn't hesitate to make it clear that that was not a part of their spiritual practice, to have so much and other people have nothing. So it's a very honored tradition to be concerned about that and be of service in correcting that, but also not to let that disrupt your own personal practice. So, yeah, I mean, that's those are things to think about now when there's less, and a lot of people have very little, but we can share what we have, even if we don't have a lot.
Thank you.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I'll finish that. Two of my students were talking about what is the thing that you're supposed to get $1,000 from the government or something, and they were trying to decide who to give it to. They said, there's so many people that have so much less than we do. We certainly don't need to take this. We'll give it to somebody who's not that well off, or someone who's homeless, or someone who can use it. Will be more crucial for them than it is for us. Yeah, Linda, go ahead.
Oh, there's just a question from Eduardo. Were all these mantras devoted to Krishna? And maybe you want to add something, Eduardo.
Yeah.
So to David, we're all these, and then to, namaste, Rudy G. So good to see you. It's been over a decade since I've been in your presence at your home, years ago. So yeah, the idea of like mantras to Krishna was Hare Hare, Shri Krishna, and then in regards to that as well, the role of mantra from tantric practices. I know Tantra is the big umbrella, Hatha Yoga, all these kind of yogic practices. Just a little bit, if you could speak about that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, the first part, let me address the first part. No, not all of the songs are dedicated to Krishna, but a lot of these are, and there are many others, but Radhe, 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 Radha was the consort, the feminine counterpart to Krishna. And so one of them was to Radha.
Okay.
Sometimes they're to Shiva. And it's, in this tradition, well, these songs are more correctly called part of the Hindu tradition. Mm. And Tantrikas are not, they usually come from a Hindu background, but they don't consider themselves practitioners of Hindu traditions, and Hindu traditions it's a huge multiplicity of those. But they would say, well, I'm from a Hindu family, and a lot of my basic beliefs and so forth are similar. But Tantra is something that branches off and goes into arenas that most Hindus wouldn't. So yet when they sit around the fire and sing, they'll often sing the traditional bhajans or chants that everybody else sings, So that isn't to say that they don't have respect for what the Krishna Krishna, you might say, archetype stands for, what it is, what it represents, what it is the essence of, is something that's very powerful. But it's a different twist on it all when you are coming at it from a tantric background. So yeah, there are many bhajans, and I mean, maybe countless. And so, you know, there's some that are more popular. I mean, probably the most popular one is, what's the Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Very popular. And so almost anybody in India would join in on that, you know, even though the god or goddess that they put on their altar might be something very different. But they're all faces of God as far as they're concerned. That's why when the British came, you know, and started trying to convert people from Hinduism to Christianity, and so they learned about Jesus, and they said, oh, you know, they were excited, and the missionaries were so delighted. And then they said, well, we're putting Jesus on our altar right beside Krishna and Shiva. And the missionary said, no, that's not how you do. Well, why not? You know, I mean, they're all holy men, right? They're all faces of God. And that's the attitude. And then you had a second part to your question, but I didn't hear it well.
Like just the idea, like from the tantric perspective, are the mantras used as a meditation technique to sort of draw the attention inward?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. The answer is very complex because yes, the mantras are used in meditation, but they're also used in all kinds of other ways. And so basically, when you make a sound and you focus your attention fully on that sound, if it is one of those seed sounds that are used in composing mantras, then it's going to take you into a certain realm of awareness and consciousness. And it's going to connect you with things on other dimensions. It's like the sound comes through the different dimensions and you catch it and follow it back, and then you connect with other worlds, other things. And so it's a very subtle and powerful technique that has many applications besides meditation.
Thank you.
I mean, you can call all of that a kind of meditation, but actually it goes beyond what we usually think of as meditation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. Shanti. Namaste.
Anybody else have a curiosity? Yes. Speak up. Yeah, I can't read your name. Oh, Mason Trap. Go ahead. Marion. Oh,
Gee, it's yes. Todd and Marion from California.
Oh. Yes. Hi. Hi.
So wow. Good to see you again. It's been a long time, my friend. So, I have been leading groups of people here in body electric style massage, teaching them how to do that. And of course, this cut off all of our ability to continue any kind of touch work, but they're begging me for doing something on Zoom. I'm just wondering, I've always thought, well, I wonder what Rudy would be doing in these times. And so if you were leading a group of men who want to do erotic tantric work, what would you do now that you could do on screens? Because they're desperate for it. They need some help, and I want to step up.
Yeah, well, a lot of it will be touch of yourself. You know, and when people are collectively, I mean, the touch comes from the universe, right? And we're all parts of the universe. So each of us brings that universal touch to ourselves, but that's really all of us bringing that touch to each other on a different plane. So yeah, the actual hand happens to be my hand instead of your hand, but it's the same principle. And if we can be together on the screen and we can see each other and we can know that there's this, because that group energy, right? Like right now, it's a field that exists, and it's made up of all of you, and that energetic, what is it? A morphic field in Linda. It's a morphic field that's created by us, our being present in intent and directing our attention commonly in a direction that creates this synergy that then can be guided through to us by the hand that touches us. And in this case, it happens to be my own hand because there's no other one there at the moment. So I think that would be really fun to play with. Mm-hmm. And in any case, you get the opportunity to explain all of that, and it gets people to thinking a different way, right? So you can't lose.
Yeah, for sure. I think I've been more afraid of it because of the screen aspect. And as soon as you put the technology in the way, it inhibits the actual Tantra. You know, I mean, and you're saying that it might be fun to play with the technology and use it as a bridge, and that you can then play with your own self-touch in a way that you wouldn't if you had another person there.
Well, right, and to know that as long as we're together, the touch is coming from all of us.
Yeah.
And my hand just represents the group.
Yeah.
And so I can actually have more than one other person touching me.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, good. I like it. It. Thank you.
That's great to see.
This is Arabella. I'd just like to add to Todd's query that in Zoom you can do breakouts. I'm sure you know this. It's just a technical thing that you can break out into groups of 2 and give your people, clear instructions about what they're to do during those groups of 2, which might be more intimate than attempting to do it in a large group.
Well, and 2 or 3 or 4, right?
I don't know. I don't know 2 or 3 or 4. I just know 2.
Linda knows.
Yeah, you can do as many people in the group. You just decide and you say break everybody into 4s or 2s or 3s and it does it randomly. Or you can do it randomly, or then you can do it. You can select people.
I mean,
random would be fun.
We can talk about the deprivation of not being able to actually touch people, but we can also celebrate the opportunity to reach so many more people so quickly. I mean, like Todd, I haven't seen you in years, and suddenly you're there, and people are there that I haven't seen in a long time. I mean, this is a miracle, and we can get excited about this miracle until we can actually, do the other thing again.
That's so true. The expansion of our satsang and our kirtan to all of you is huge. We usually do those pieces here in Asheville and here at Dancing Shiva, and our groups are local folks, and we love that. But to do this tonight and be able to touch all of you, is phenomenal. And so that opportunity to do that sort of connection in some guided practice through body electric or with male-bodied or female-bodied folks in a large group like this can be amazing.
Yeah. So, hooray.
Someone else have a question?
I was wondering if
Swami Ravi,
if you are able to connect Todd to Mahan Kalpa, what he's doing on Sundays.
And if we're able, what? I'm sorry.
I don't
to hook Todd up to Mahan Kalpa, because he's doing that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Todd, you can.
Yeah, there's
Linga Puja right after this that I can get you the information.
How sweet, sweet.
Yeah.
I know Brandon Anthony is doing a lot of work. I've joined him a few times. And there's a couple of groups in London that are doing some things, but nothing is local for LA. And boy, my guys are all just really desperate right now to do something. So this would be great. Anything I can send them that way would be awesome. And so Rudaji, when are you gonna lead your erotic Zoom? I'm signing up.
Well, I did have
we did have a naked meditation that was, we asked folks to prepare for the meditation. So in their own way. So
nice.
We will be doing more of those sort of events as well. So.
Good. I hope I'm on the list.
Will you send an email to be sure to dancingshivatantra@gmail.com?
Sure.
Great. Cece has a question.
Okay. Speak up.
Thank you.
Hi.
You're all for seeing me. So I try to get out of the house at least once a day, wearing my mask. Most people are wearing masks, and I feel like there's a lot less eye contact. I know I'm living in New York City. I'm not being silly about this. I know we don't have a lot of eye contact here anyways, but typically even like children will easily make contact with me, but we're not making that contact. And even here on Zoom or Zoom-like technology, which I use for my day job, I'm not really making eye contact with someone, because like I'm looking over here at you and you may be like over, I don't know where you are actually. I don't actually know where your eyes are. So I get a little nervous, I feel like I'm picking up on fear, and I don't know if it's mine or out there, about how do we connect with each other? How do we prepare for reopening, for reconnecting with people?
Well, that's a really interesting question. And I think there are many ways to approach it, but I think ultimately the definitive way to approach that is to realize that we best connect with others by connecting to the oneness that is all of us. And that we can do within. And this is really sort of a fundamental in Eastern cultures, much more than here. But and it also is a harbinger of what's to come, because according to the teachings of the Tantrikas and the Indian tradition, we are entering, or we're actually entering Turiya, which is the fourth state, beyond the everyday waking consciousness, beyond the dream state, beyond the prajna, which is also the dreamless sleep. And the teachers always taught that, well, there's a fourth state. And the fourth state is where we're all conscious of everything at all times. And that includes each other. So there is an incredible different quality of connection with others that comes through, you could say, meeting there in the oneness. But what we do when we meet in the oneness is we drop a huge amount of our separateness, and then our connection with the other person is incredibly more profound. And so that's the definitive answer to your question is like, no, how do we get in touch with that person? They're not looking at me. I want to teach. But when we try to connect with people on this level, there are always problems and there's always misunderstanding. But when we go to that place where we both are radiating from, and we go back to that source and connect there, then it's wonderful. Mary Summerain. Has anyone heard of Mary Summerain? She was a Native American teacher. And when she got her training, she was actually a housewife in Chicago. And she started seeing visions of this woman with no eyes. And she couldn't get it out of her mind. So finally she got in her car and started driving. And she ended up in this place somewhere in the out west. And sure enough, she encountered this woman who was blind in both eyes. So her eyes were dark and, and she became a student of hers. And they would sit for meditation. And when she sat with her, she would find herself going to this place that was, otherworldly. And in that place, there was like a conveyor belt. And people were coming in one direction and she was going in the other direction. And so every time she would pass a person, she could feel her heart open and their heart open. And there was just this merging that was ecstatic. And then the next person. And so finally the meditation ended and No Eyes, that was what she called her, turned to her and said, "You like that kind of love, eh?" She said, "Oh yeah." So anyway, that's a little glimpse of what that can be. And so we have this opportunity to spend time moving in that direction without the distractions of the world in a way that we haven't been able to do before. So I don't want, we don't want to miss the opportunity. We complain about, I have no time, I have no time, I have no time. And now we have a lot of time and we complain about, I have too much time, I have too much time. Well, let's just use this free time to do something really inner work that we're distracted from usually. So this is a great opportunity. Thank you for your question.
So Jody
has a question as well.
All right, Jody, speak up. Where are you? Oh, there she is.
Hi, Swami Ravi. Thank you. So since we did the meditation on uncertainty last week, I've been having this question kind of roaming around: is what is the role of uncertainty in making decisions? And in this lineage of Tantra, what is the space from which one kind of calls in a decision?
Well, thank you for that question. Yeah. Well, I don't know exactly that you call it in as much as you just have the phone off the hook all the time. And so when the call comes, you can get it. But it is definitely, the spirit of what you're saying is, I think, accurate, that we in this kind of dealing with uncertainty, and for those of you who weren't there last week, we talked about embracing uncertainty, or in this uncertain times, again, we have the opportunity to be quiet and open to what comes to us as far as guidance, or as far as a sense of, oh, what about that? And if you really quiet the mind and get out of the way, that information comes and the decision is obvious. And, and you can feel it, you know that, okay, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. And what happens after that, we don't know. I mean, you may say afterwards, well, something happened that wasn't good. I must have done the wrong thing. I must have taken the wrong advice. No, that may have been the perfect experience for you. So, yeah, we want to go out of the busyness into the quiet place where we can hear the voice or feel the signals that help us make those decisions. Thank you for that question.
Still have some time.
Do we? Okay, anybody else have a curiosity?
Hans.
Hans, speak up.
Yes, I'm Hans, and it's been a long time since we've been in touch, Swami Rudy, and it's nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here and to see you. And I have a question. Obviously, with the COVID situation, you know, it may put our attention on death. And my question is, you know, if a person winds up in the situation where they may be facing that within potentially days or hours or even minutes, what to do. And I'm asking this as a person who actually, you know, I did wind up in the ICU for a period last year. I don't think it was COVID related, but, you know, but I had to try to, you know, deal with that and see, well, okay, you know, I mean, see, well, you know, try to maybe do breath awareness or focus on certain mantras. And I just, you know, had to make my own guesses. Do you have any suggestion about that?
Well, you know, I think, I mean, maybe it's my age that I feel like death is just, you know, it's the other side of life. I mean, it's the other two sides of the same coin. And it's not really terrifying. And it's not really this horrible thing that happens to you. And it happens to you when it's time for you to go to the next thing, the next adventure, the next process. And to, if we live in fear of death, we don't actually live. So you might as well go ahead and die and find out what it's about, so you don't get freaked out by that all the time. I mean, it's like, but no, I mean, I take good care of my health. And I don't do it because I want to live forever. I do it because I want to feel great while I'm living. And so I generally do feel really good. And I'm glad I'm taking care of my health. But I think that, you know, if it's my time to go, not that that's some sentence or some dark thing. I did a year-long course with a group of Buddhists on death and dying last year. And at the end, we had a little mock burial. And they said, well, will you be the Grim Reaper? And I said, well, I can be the Reaper, but I don't know that I can be very grim about it. Maybe I can be the Grinning Reaper, or I don't know. Because I don't think that we need to be grim about dying. So yeah, this is the main point, I think, is that we clear our lives and we're clear in our heads and we're ready for the next adventure. I think that if everybody knew how wonderful that next adventure will be, we would have a lot more people wanting to leave. So it's not good to talk about it too much, but it really isn't. Fear is not in order. You know, it's a mistake to be afraid of death. Death is a liberation. Death is a fresh start. Death is like, okay, blow the whistle. All right, you finished. Now, what was that like? Let's gather the data on that experience. I mean, no, this is Tantra. Let's gather the data and what do you learn from it? You want to go back in the game? You want to rest? You know, take your choice. Yeah. So if we were less terrified of death, our health wouldn't collapse as quickly. You know? That's the irony, right? But that's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you, Swami Rudy.
Yes. Are you still in China?
I'm in Los Angeles now.
Oh, okay.
But I still split my time here and there.
Oh, okay. Great. So who else has something they're curious about we can talk about? Just for your information, curiosity is what fuels Tantra. And it's a great thing to cultivate. Makes life really interesting and fun. Oh, look who's down there. Hi. back. So doesn't anyone else want to join us in thinking and exploring something? Don't be afraid to say your question. Oh, good. I can't read his name.
Hi. Greetings. I have more of an insight than a question, but from what what you had mentioned about, someone had asked about missing eye contact, and that's something I've experienced with people creating that extra distance when I go to the store. So it's been a practice for me to just detach and not feel, not get emotional about that because of just that happening. But the insight was the idea of how this virtual digital world is coming upon us more, and how to merge that with Tantra in a way of like virtual Tantra, the sense of touching each other in a non-physical way. So where I can be touching you through another sense, through the sense of hearing, through the sense of my hand representing the group. So you were mentioning that, and it was just giving me a lot of kind of answers or connections to how to adapt my bodywork practice, which I realized the last time that I touched somebody in bodywork was in December, and I realized that that's been a big impact in my connection. So this opportunity to connect for me is very nourishing, and it's also new to me. I don't go too much on the social platforms as much as I used to, and I'm slowly incorporating myself, but yeah, trying to find how to use this technology for my benefit and not get zapped out or
Right. Yeah, and so we have to be clever, and we have to be resourceful, and we have to be flexible to try different things. I mean, this is an experiment. Like, this was a real experiment tonight to try to do Kirtan on Zoom, and it was kind of fun, and you know, it worked sort of. Yeah, it's a playground. Opportunity to do all kinds of new odd experiments, and some will be not so great and some will be wonderful.
Yeah, I appreciate the questions and the answers. It made a lot of, it's helping me with making my own interpretations to my questions. So that's why I didn't really have a question now, and just kind of like the answers were answering my questions. So
yeah, that's great. I'm happy. I'm glad. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I think, Mark, did you have a question?
Well, one of the things Rudy G said was about not having fear. And I have been cautious, but living without fear. Like he said, when it's my time, it's my time. And I can accept that. Rudy G reminded me of what happened when AIDS was going crazy. Suddenly, gay men stopped dying and decided that they could live. I don't know, some shift happened in people's paradigms.
Yeah.
The other thing is, outside of all this media craziness about COVID, I've noticed a lot of really beautiful things happening in the world. It's like the world is getting a break from humans, and that makes me really happy.
Yeah. Yes, it seems that way. it seems that the air is clearer, the birds are happier, you know, the temperature of where we live, at least, it's been very cool and mild, more than usual in this month. And I just keep thinking, well, if everybody stops doing all the stuff that makes pollution and noise and heat, that things quiet down. And that's really a wonderful thing.
I have a question, Rudaji.
Yes.
I'm leading groups all over the world in private healing sessions on Zoom. And one of the things I most loved about teaching together with you was how elegantly you built trust and deeper connections with our groups. What suggestions do you have for doing this online, for like building the trust and deeper connection in groups?
Yeah, well, good to see you, Tyr, and I hope you're feeling better.
Yes.
Good.
I'm healing.
You feeling better? Good. Well, I think the thing about building trust is that people want to know that you are in integrity, whatever you're doing, that there's a sense of, well, yes, he comes from that in a way that is consistent and makes sense, and that he believes in, and he's, you know, so if you convey that sense of integrity, I think people feel reassured and comfortable and trusting. And, you know, so it's a lot about doing your own inner work and your own self-examination and your own acknowledging your own faults to yourself. You don't have to go ahead and tell everybody, they don't want to know. But, you know, at least you know what's true and what's not. And you're acting on with the intention of being helpful, because you have compassion for people suffering. And if you reflect that in your actions and your speech and so forth, then people feel like, oh yeah, this is safe. This is a good place to be. This is something that, you know, I can trust. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you do that a lot in your work. Yeah. Great. It's kind of a delight for me to be on this Zoom with people, because I mean, sometimes there's so many wonderful people I know that I've worked with and had relationships with, and you know, I miss them and I don't get to see them, and I can't travel all over the world to see everybody. And I kept thinking, well, there's got to be some way that I can still be in touch with all those people. I know there is. And, you know, so this is the first step, I think. And then the next step is what we were talking about before, which is being more invested in and locating yourself in that sense of oneness, that integral consciousness. And then you're with everybody all the time. And that sounds delightful. So let's all get busy and open the door for that. Great.
So Rudy, I just want to kind of piggyback onto that. This is Linda. I'm working with groups that we're doing circles, healing, sharing circles with people on the front lines, and people really need that. So I'm even putting a class together to teach people how to do circles. I mean, it's holding space, and I love the idea of taking it that step further, of connecting to the oneness of us all. I think that's what's happening, but now I'm more conscious about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm putting together a class that says sharing circles in every family, organization, association, you know, blah, blah, blah. Because I would just love to see that practice happen more.
And where can people find out more about that?
Oh, it just started today. I mean, I'm just putting it together. So I'll share it when it's in the oven yet. But
okay. When it's done, let us know.
Someone else have a question or an observation or comment? Yeah.
Here's something. Oh. Are they on?
Yeah, it's just on the phone.
Well, can they say their question?
I don't know that they had a question. There's sometimes some little background noise.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But does 1901099524997 have a question?
Maybe not.
Wonderful. Oh, who's? Speak up louder. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, excellent. Thank you for stopping in and allowing us into your home this evening. Thank you, David, for the wonderful Kirtan. We always enjoy your voice and your just your what's the word I want to say? Sensibility about the singing, and your rejoicing comes through. So it's we appreciate that, and stay tuned. Next week, Arabella, who is on the call, will be leading a meditation. Do you want to say something about that at all, Arabella?
Yes, we'll be doing an embodied journey through our chakras.
Wonderful.
Great.
Good.
So 7 p.m. next Sunday, Arabella will be leading the meditation. And then the following week, we'll have something, maybe Kirtan again, maybe something different. And we'll be sending out an announcement.
And Arabella is a graduate
of
the Tantra Teachers Training Program, which was a 4-year experience with me here and in India. So she's really well qualified to do this. She also studied for many, many, many years with Pir Vilayat Khan, who was a great Sufi teacher and was a very close assistant to him. So you'll have lots to offer.
So I can unmute everybody and we can all just say good night, goodbye, thank you, whatever we want to do here. Let me unmute everyone.
What if we do a collective Om?
Oh, nice. Okay. Why don't you lead us, Rudy G?
All right. We're going to do a collective Om, and we'll do a breath, and then exhale, and then inhale for Om, and then we'll do Om. So let's all exhale together. Inhale, and now Om. Hey, goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Rudy G. Here.